Vikings, let's win this game.
Vikings fans, I'll admit it, the vibe in Minnesota feels different today. We had a young guy on offense letting it rip and then, out of nowhere, catching heat for a celebration. We had our biggest star apologizing to the fans. We got a win with key guys walking off banged up. And then, at the end, there's a decision that changes how this team looks at 2026. Stay with me to the end. But before I break down every piece of this, stick with me for a quick second. Subscribe to the channel. It's free, and it seriously helps what we do here. Drop a like too. That helps YouTube push this video to more fans. And throw your take in the comments. This is a shared space, the way Vikings fans like it. Sunday night, I saw something that's classic young team energy. J.J. McCarthy gets into the end zone, and instead of just finishing the play and getting back to the huddle, he hits the gritty. And it wasn't, oops, it just happened. It was a choice. Kevin O'Connell had already told him to cut it out. Then the kid went out and did it anyway. In that moment, the stadium turned into a volcano. And I'm not going to pretend I didn't laugh. It's entertaining. But I also looked right at the sideline. O'Connell even smiled. That smile had an edge to it like, okay, but don't do that again. And I get it. This season is already in pride and future mode. We're not putting on a show. We're trying to develop a quarterback. McCarthy even said afterward he did the gritty in practice and they told him not to do it again. But the way he's wired, that just made it more tempting. He basically said something like, if I can, I want to. And here's the good part. He also admitted he's going to get a minus for it. So he knows he disobeyed, and he knows he's going to hear about it. O'Connell, on the other hand, didn't raise his voice, but he was crystal clear. He basically said he'd rather see JJ hit the gas and show that speed. He even brought up the whole 40 talk the kid loves to mention. That's the kind of message a coach gives when he's protecting the team. Because if your quarterback becomes a meme, the week turns into a circus, and we have had more than enough noise in 2025. To be honest with you, I like personality, but I like maturity more. Dancing is fun when you're dominating all year. When you're up and down, every little detail becomes ammo for criticism, and McCarthy is still inconsistent. In 8 starts, you've seen flashes and you've seen storms. So when he challenges his head coach, he puts himself under a bigger spotlight. At the same time, there's one thing I can't ignore. 5 days earlier, O'Connell had told him to be authentically himself. And I know what he meant. He wanted JJ loose, simple, no act. But the kid heard it his own way. And that's where the confusion lives. Be yourself and still follow the team's plan. At the bar table, I can already hear the argument. One side says, let the kid live. The other says, discipline, man. And the truth is in the middle. A quarterback has to have fire, but the fire has to be on the snap, not after it. The NFL eats guys alive when they waste energy on the wrong stuff. Tell me this, did you love McCarthy doing the gritty, or did it feel reckless? I want your read, because it says a lot about what we expect from him. And hang with me, because the next story is not as fun. It's about why wins right now can matter more than any draft slot, even with this season already bleeding. Now let's talk about the argument that always comes back when the team is out of it. They should lose to move up in the draft. I get the logic. But right now, what matters more is seeing J.J. McCarthy actually grow. 2 straight wins changed the mood in that locker room. And it changed because the quarterback played better, plain and simple. Against Washington and then Dallas, he was cleaner, more accurate, faster decisions. And most importantly, he didn't let one mistake turn into an avalanche. In Dallas, his first throw was chaos. A tip at the line. He tries to bat it down. It turns into an interception. Worst possible start. In other games, that would have crushed him. Instead, he got back to the huddle and kept going. He hit the short throws. He used the checkdowns. And when the window opened, he got aggressive. Kevin O'Connell talked about it. He said JJ did the basics when he needed to, and then showed up when the big plays were there. That's practice turning into production. That's a quarterback learning the rhythm of the NFL. It's not just pretty stats, it's control. You can see the offense moving instead of stumbling. Now, yes, you have to add the asterisk. Those 2 defenses were really bad. That gives you confidence. But even with that, you can see a change in how he's handling the pocket. When the drop lasts longer than 2.5 seconds, he's not panicking like before. He starts to see it. And then you get throws 15 yards or more downfield, delivered with conviction. That's a different level. To be honest with you, I'm not trading that kind of progress for 3 spots in the draft. Because if McCarthy becomes the guy, everything else gets worked out through real team building. You find linemen, you find defenders, you can even miss on a pick and still survive. But if you don't have a quarterback, it's a bottomless hole. And we've seen that movie in Minnesota more than once. And there's an emotional piece that matters too. The kid said he loves the journey. He loves the highs and the lows, and I believe him, because you can see how he's handled this season. He took hits, he became a meme, he heard everything, and he didn't break. He's not playing to hide, he's playing to learn. So yes, winning now hurts the draft, but it helps something way rarer, real confidence. On film, that becomes fuel for the offseason. It becomes an argument to bring in the right pieces. It even brings some peace inside the building. Everybody knows who's driving the offense, and there are still 3 games left to figure out if this is a real trend or just a short hot streak. And there's a ripple effect. While the quarterback is growing, a major part of the offense is grinding. And when the biggest name on the roster starts holding himself accountable in public, things get serious. That's how we get to the next one. There was a moment in Dallas that twisted my stomach. Justin Jefferson, the most reliable guy we have, walked off smiling. But inside, he was eating himself alive because he had a touchdown in his hands, literally, and he dropped it. His connection with J.J. McCarthy is still not where it needs to be. With Kirk Cousins and even Sam Darnold, it felt like the ball just found Jefferson. Now, sometimes it clicks, sometimes the timing is off. And this game was supposed to be the chapter that brings them closer. In the first half, McCarthy threw a dart to Jefferson in the back of the end zone. Touchdown. Then an illegal formation wiped it out. In the second half, the perfect chance came again. Corner of the end zone. Right spot. And it goes through Jefferson's hands. That's not normal. And it wasn't the only missed opportunity. There was a ball over the middle with Jefferson wide open, and McCarthy sailed it. There was a contested sideline throw that Jefferson almost ripped in anyway. The night could have been huge. Jefferson even said afterward the ball came in hot, and it did. McCarthy has plenty of heat on it. Jefferson even joked about the people who claim the kid doesn't have an arm, but Jefferson also made it clear that's not an excuse. He has to catch it, period. And what worries people is the bigger picture. Over the last few games, Jefferson has had only a handful of catches, not many yards, and 0 touchdowns. That doesn't match his talent, and it doesn't match his contract. We all know he's elite, but being elite also means the standard never drops. To be honest with you, I respect how he's handled the frustration. He could have snapped. He could have sulked. He could have argued. He could have checked out. He didn't. He talked like a captain. He said he's proud he hasn't let his emotions take over. And that matters in a year that has already bruised this fan base. At the same time, I'm not going to pretend everything is fine. If the chemistry doesn't improve, the offense stays stuck, and the young quarterback loses the best safety blanket in football. Then when the tight games show up, that missing connection turns into losses. Simple as that. The good news is there's still time. Jefferson is close to another 1,000-yard season. He's got 3 weeks to get there. It starts against the Giants. And I want to see the staff design the game to let Jefferson breathe. Quick routes, motion, fast throws. Let him feel the flow early. Now I need your take. Was this just bad luck and timing? Or is the Jefferson and McCarthy partnership going to take longer than people want? Tell me in the comments. Fans in purple and gold are talking about it all day. And there's no time to exhale because the next one is the kind nobody likes. The win came, but the injury report started screaming. And here comes the part that cuts the celebration in half. Because the win over Dallas came with a price. The medical report became the headline, and it scares anyone who has watched a season collapse because of injuries. Javon Hargrave went down in the third quarter. First they called it one thing, then they changed the description. Kevin O'Connell finished by saying it's a thigh injury and he needs an MRI. When you hear that word, you already know. That's not ice in your back. That's a real evaluation. Hargrave isn't just a big body. He's the guy who holds the middle so everyone else can work. And he was brought here to be a pillar, not a footnote on the injury list. Then, in the fourth quarter, Brian O'Neill leaves with an ankle or foot issue. He also needs an MRI. And that's even scarier because Christian Darrisaw was already out. The Vikings finished with Justin SKOL and Blake Brandel at tackle. It's patchwork on top of patchwork, and the offense feels it. You can love McCarthy's upside, but if he doesn't have protection on the edge, he becomes a target. And we've seen the line shuffle so much this season it feels like a new combination every week. To make it worse, Jonathan Greenard aggravated his shoulder. He already missed time with that, and he's the guy who creates the most pressure on defense. Even when he doesn't get the sack, he blows up plays. Losing Greenard changes the way the defense breathes. And with the Lions and Packers coming up, that's a real problem. Those teams punish mistakes fast. Isaiah Rodgers also popped up with an elbow injury, and on offense, Jalen Nailor tweaked his back on a touchdown catch. At least he returned and scored again. But just the fact that we're listing this many issues from one game tells you everything. The medical staff is going to have a long week. To be honest with you, I'm tired of this injury roulette in Minnesota. Every year it feels like we pay a toll to compete. And the worst part is how it affects a young quarterback's development. You don't call the same game without your tackles. You don't stretch the field the same way. You don't protect the same way. And the kid is still learning how to handle pressure in his face. Now, if there's one positive, it's that the team still found a way to win anyway. That shows a locker room that's alive. That shows a staff adapting. But the bill comes due fast. O'Connell might give more details in his press conference. But what really matters is the injury report later in the week. So stay with me, because if these injuries are serious, the final story gets even heavier. It's not just about one game, it's about the size of the decision the Vikings are going to have to face, whether they like it or not. At the end of the day, this season is nowhere near what we dreamed of. The record hurts. The weeks feel heavy, and when you're 6-8, everything feels longer. Travel, practice, film, all of it. But even in that reality, J.J. McCarthy has started to give the team something that changes the temperature. Hope built on real football. He didn't turn into a star overnight. His season still has ugly numbers. Touchdowns and interceptions running side by side. A low completion percentage. A rough QBR. Then you get 2 weeks where he looks like a different guy. Against Washington, 3 touchdowns in control. Against Dallas, 250 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing score, and that tipped ball interception. And that's the point. Even with the mistake, he doesn't spiral. To be honest with you, I don't get excited about best game of the year if there's no follow-up. I get excited about repeatable signs, and he's showing signs. He's taking the easy play, he's using the structure, and when the big play is there, he doesn't flinch. That's the beginning of a franchise quarterback. It's not a guarantee, but it's the beginning, and it pulls a lot of threads. Letting Sam Darnold walk in free agency and watching him end up with the Seahawks left a hole and a scar. The team bet that McCarthy would be the right project. If he fails, the offseason becomes chaos. And the pressure hits Kwesi Adofo-Mensah hard because drafts are resumes. And in Minnesota, patience has a limit when the results disappear. There's also the Justin Jefferson angle. He's under contract through 2028. Sure, but elite players want competition. They want the ball. They want a real chance to win. If the quarterback can't deliver, the locker room gets weird. And we've all seen how that turns into a story. The good news is that if McCarthy grows, Jefferson can breathe, and everyone can breathe. And it's not just theory. Jefferson's recent production dip doesn't look like him. If he starts exploding again over these last few weeks, the conversation changes. Then you've got Jordan Addison on one side, the run game helping, and the offense starts to have an identity. That's the scenario that saves the mood around the team. But the next games are going to tell the truth. The Giants are one thing, the Lions and Packers are another. If the kid can keep reading it, protect the football, and survive real pass rush, then the Vikings go into the summer thinking, build around him, not replace him. And that changes everything. Roster building, draft plans, even the atmosphere in the stands. So when I look at this stretch, I think it's not about saving 2025, it's about shortening the road back. It's about making purple and gold believe again. And now we land on what really matters. What the fans do with this hope, and what the team does so it doesn't waste it. Take a breath and stay with me. J.J. McCarthy took a step forward and still sparked debate with the gritty. Kevin O'Connell kept the message firm. Justin Jefferson let a touchdown slip, and that screams chemistry now. The win came, but the cost showed up with Javon Hargrave, Brian O'Neill, and Jonathan Greenard raising real concern. And I'll plant my flag on this. If McCarthy plays at this level against the next tests, the offseason changes its tone. The Vikings stop surviving and start planning, and fans in purple and gold deserve that. Drop your take in the comments because this space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes Vikings football. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings. Let's go.